Welcome into the Verizon post-game show. Mark Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derek Gunn, Bailey Livesey as well. Usually a team like the Philadelphia Eagles is finding a way to win the game, and they certainly did that today, obviously, with the 31-25 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But this was the complete opposite of what we saw last week. In the first half last week against the Rams, absolutely out of sync. First half this week against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, everything was working for the Eagles. Now, in the second half of this game, it came to a screeching halt offensively as to what the Eagles were able to do. Jalen Hurts also having his head hit the turf down there in Tampa, never looked like the same quarterback after that, failing to complete a pass throughout that second half for quite some time. It was nerve-wracking, to say the least, for a lot of Philadelphia Eagles fans. But when the defense needed to step up and make plays, Seth, the defense was able to step up and make plays. Jahad Campbell, and throughout the day, Cooper DeJean as well. What did you see, Seth, from a difference from the first half to the second half that made this one a lot closer than we would have liked?
I just felt like they got a little more conservative, and they started, in my opinion, trying to force the ball to A.J. I tweeted out, I'm like, this is what I hate about the whole A.J. narrative and why everybody wants to talk about it. In the first half, the offense was clicking because they gave the ball to the open player, okay? The second half, they kept trying to force the ball to A.J., force the ball to A.J., throw the damn ball to whoever's open and run your offense more efficiently. Now, I know there's some people watching, they're like, what is he upset for? They won the game. And I always preach about winning the game. But they're supposed to be getting better. Each and every week, they're supposed to be getting progressively better. And guess what they did? They did the exact opposite of what they did last week. Last week, they stunk it up on offense in the first half and came out and flipped the script in the second half and played lights out. First half last week, they had -1 yards total offense, okay? This week, they turn around D-Gun, and they play lights out in the first half and then play Casper the Friendly Ghost in the second half. Mm-hmm. And guess what? They had a total of, okay, they had a total of -18 yards passing when it was all said and done, okay? They had plus 17 yards rushing the ball in the second half for a grand total of, just like last week, -1 yards in the whole half of football. Mm-hmm. How the hell does that happen?
First half of football, and I tweeted this out, I'm applauding Kevin Patullo's game plan because Jalen Hurts beat that Todd Bowles blitz time and time again. He was 8 of 9 on the blitz. And you had wide receivers wide open. And like you said, he spread the wealth. And then the one drive you're talking about in particular in the second half, 3 straight times he goes to A.J. Why? You're playing right into Tampa's hands. Why do you give the opposition momentum back? You're beating them by spreading the football. When they blitzed in the first half, you beat them every which way from Sunday. In the second half, you're giving them a chance to get back in the game. The game was 24-3. I said, ball game over. Ball game 31-13, ball game's over. And yet you can come up with this conservative approach in the second half, predictable, and allow Tampa Bay to get back in that game. And I'm thinking, what are they doing here? Why? I mean, Saquon's not going to run the football, okay? You spread the wealth. You have too much talent in the wide receiving game to be that doggone conservative with the football. They basically did what the Rams did last week when the Rams built a big lead and went to a conservative game. The Eagles came out and did the exact same thing. Now, I don't know to what effect Seth was talking about, and I was thinking about it. The one play where Jalen's head hits the turf, You don't know. They didn't say he had a concussion, but you don't know because a lot of times, players don't have to hit their heads hard to be rattled.
Okay? Or reevaluated, by the way.
Reevaluated,
right.
Exactly. So, I don't know if that affected him at all or not, but my goodness. But then again, go beyond that. A high snap over the head, what the heck's going on here?
Yeah, discombobulated in the second half.
Yes.
And let's focus on this for a second because both of you have brought it up, and it's a very interesting play here, unfortunately, for the Eagles. Really interesting possession. It was one of their final possessions of the game there in the fourth quarter. Jalen Hurts tries to force 3 different throws to A.J. Brown.
Yes.
On the third down situation, he had Jahad Dotson top of the screen. It would be behind Jalen Hurts to his left. He reels back looking for A.J. Brown, who's in double coverage, by the way, and he does not see Jahad Dotson, who, by the way, also had soft coverage about 8 yards, 10 yards maybe, even of a cushion there by the defensive back. Easy first down play. Jalen never looks his way. The throw is rushed. He makes a bad throw to A.J. again in coverage, and they're not able to convert. Look, I am not in the business of making excuses for anybody, but I will say Jalen Hurts did not look like that same quarterback that we saw in that first half after his head hit the turf in the second half.
Listen, I'm not going to make excuses for him. You know, when I laud the greatness that he plays with, it's incumbent upon me to also talk about the negative things that I see. Now, D-Gun, in the first half, we saw some sight adjustments and some hot routes.
Yes.
I was like, good job, Kevin. Good job. Okay? The next evolution, what I'd like to see, okay, because every top-tier quarterback in the National Football League does it. I don't know whether he can't do it or whether they don't encourage him to do it, okay? But to the point, Mark, you and I are talking about that third down situation. It's 3rd down and 4, and he's trying to force the ball to A.J., and you got the corner over here on the weak side on Jahan Dotson that's lined up 12 yards off the ball. All he's got to do is raise up and throw him the ball. I like to see when cornerbacks begin to play off the ball against our wide receivers, do like everybody else does. I don't care what the play call is. Get the ball, raise up, and throw the ball out there. You got one-on-one, especially against A.J. Brown, because you're not trusting anybody to come up and block him. There are some things with this offense and the way that this staff actually call plays that leaves me absolutely perplexed. Because if I can see it with my own eyes and I can see it from the TV screen, don't tell me that Jalen Hurts doesn't see it. Because you come to the line, you got to look at the entire picture as a quarterback. You're not just looking one side, okay, what are they doing? You're looking at it all. And when I look up and I see a cornerback that's 12 yards off the ball, similar to how we did last year when we went to Tampa and Baker roasted our asses last year, we were playing 10, 12 yards off the ball. He's just raising up, throwing the ball, out there to Mike Evans. Why don't we do that? Why don't we take the low-hanging fruit? Why does everything have to be so difficult with this football team sometimes?
And before we get too far gone in this show, I just want to make sure everybody understands. The team is 4-0. Mm-hmm. I don't care how you get to 4-0, the bottom line is the team is 4-0. But somewhere down the line, this is going to come back and bite them. They can't keep riding on borrowed time like this, okay? They've been too inconsistent in 4 consecutive games, yet they've gotten the breaks when they needed them. Let's face it, in the game of football, I don't care what level you play, the breaks are not always going to go your way. The ball bounces funny, and it bounces against you a lot of times as it bounces for you. Right now, through 4 games, things have bounced the Eagles' way. A block punt, interception in the end zone when you've needed it the most. You look at all 4 games, how they've won these games, they've gotten help along the way, But you've got to be able to get to that level of consistency where you impose your will on an opponent for 4 quarters. When a team is down 24-3, you're supposed to be able to take the wind out of their sails and demoralize them. Now, I understand, they get paid just like you get paid. But the bottom line is, you have on the road in a hot environment where it's over 100 degrees, I get it, but you have a 24-3 lead, a 31-13 lead. Ball game should be over in that case. But you play right there. You let 2 big plays, 78, 72 yards. You didn't do that in the first half. What the heck went wrong in the second half? Mm-hmm. You know what I think it comes down to? I'm going to tell you something. Let me preface this by saying this before I finish it. From the defensive perspective, that was textbook in that first half. The way they were tackling, the way they were hitting, the way they were covering receivers. The second half, in a lot of cases, they look like the Keystone Cops out there, to be quite honest. And I don't understand how, when you have a 12-minute rest period, I understand it's hot, but you got 12 minutes to recuperate, how you come out and play that badly in the second half. But the bottom line again is, you're 4-0. Mm-hmm. You're 4-0.
Right, but I think a lot of people, a lot of Eagles fans, yes, everyone's happy, 4-0. It's a lot better than 0-4. Let's get that out of the way. But this is a fan base that just a couple years ago saw a team scratch and claw through the entire season, yes. And then what happened? The day of reckoning was finally there, and that unfortunately was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs where they got bounced out in the first round. Right. This time around, so far this season, we're again in a world where we haven't seen the Eagles play 4 quarters of football.
I just don't think that we're talking about the same type of team, the same set of circumstances.
As the previous collapse, so to speak?
As 23. This team, like in 2023, even through the whole period of time where they were running up, those 10 wins, I kept saying all along, something's off, something's wrong. This isn't going to last. They're not finding ways to win. They've just been lucky. I said, and at some point in time, it's going to blow up in their face. It's exactly what it did. This is a much more talented football team, in my opinion. Especially, you know, on the offensive side of the ball, it's a much better roster. Defensively, I think they're just young enough on the defensive side of the ball and just ignorant, young and dumb enough, you know, to get through this. Like, they're not going to collapse. They got too much fight. They got too many young players on the defensive side of the ball and too many guys that were a part of that 2023 collapse for them to fall apart the way that they fell apart in 2023. That's not going to happen. So people can put that to rest and stop thinking about that. Would like to see them be more consistent, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You're talking about a veteran-based offense. That side of the ball should be a lot more consistent. The defensive side, and listen, at some point in time, you should expect for this young defense to give up some plays the way that they gave up. You know, Andrew Makuba, yeah, he's going to make some plays, but he's got to learn, and he's going to give up some plays. Jahad Campbell, right there with the guy, just took his eye off the receiver for a hot minute, just long enough for Baker to buy some time and make a throw. That's going to happen with young players. But for an offense to play as efficiently as they played in the second half last week and the first half this week, to just disappear, you know, in the first half last week and the second half, that makes no sense to me. That's more problematic to me than anything else, you know. And the constant, this whole thing about trying to feed AJ the ball. Listen, I don't give a damn who gets the ball. Okay, you are running the offense very, very efficiently in the first half by doing what? Giving the ball, taking what the defense was giving you, and giving the ball to whoever was open in the progression. Okay, every single that series where you saw AJ get the ball 3 times in a row, he never even looked anywhere else, man. He never looked in anybody else's direction. He made up his mind before that ball was even snapped, I'm throwing the ball to AJ. And AJ was not open. They were playing squat coverage on him. They was rolling the corner up on him with the safety over top. They're not going to let AJ get off. Look away from him. There's other guys that are open. Throw the open guy the ball.
As we said oh, go ahead. You want to add on that, Gunnar?
Answer me this. For a receiver, I want both of you to answer this. A receiver of AJ's caliber, he has 2 routes. He has 2 routes. He has a slant route and a go route. The good receivers, the best receivers in the game have multiple routes. Why does he only have 2 routes? We talked about this all last year. He had a great season last year. But there's 2 routes, and better teams are going to figure that out. And you can take him out of the game. A lot of cases, you don't need to double cover him. Why does he have only 2 routes, Seth, in his repertoire? You pay that man $100 million. Now, he's phenomenal. Physical talent, breaks tackles, makes big catches, big catch radius.
What's the 2 routes, D-Gun?
Slant route and a go route. That's it. Slant route, go route. That's it. Look at the Justin Jeffersons of the game and all these guys. How many different routes do they have where they set up a DB and make them look bad? Better teams, Todd Bowl type defenses, you're going to see some better coordinators as well. They got this figured out. Now, still, the good thing is the Eagles still have enough talent on that offensive roster. If you can't get the ball to AJ, you should be able to get it to somebody else. But based on what we've seen in the last couple of games, they get in this mode. I don't know if it's Kevin Patullo. I don't know if it's Jalen trying to appease AJ. You try to force feed AJ, and you let opposition stay in the game longer than they should.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is occasionally you see the A.J. Brown comeback route. That's about it. But it's always the slant.
Did you see one today?
I did not see one today.
I was going to say, did you see it?
Absent
okay.
from this game today. But I will say this. So we talked about Kevin Patullo. We talked about Jalen Hurts. Seth, you used the word forced. When I hear forced, I don't think it's Kevin Patullo trying to force the ball there. I think that's Jalen Hurts, unfortunately, locking in on a target and not trying to look off a safety, as you've called for over the last couple of weeks. Trying to just look off a linebacker even in this situation. This is just him zeroing. This was, unfortunately, and we all love the guy, but you're right, when he doesn't play well, we got to critique it. He had a couple of misplays there in the first half as well, just flat-out bad decisions. The one little throw to Saquon Barkley with the blitz in his face, instead of just throwing that ball, sailing it over Barkley's head, he tossed it to Saquon Barkley, who then had a 4-yard loss in that play. There was nowhere for him to go in that situation. Then in the second half, you really started to see things unravel. So do you look at the offense sputtering in the second half as a Jalen Hurts problem or a Kevin Patullo problem?
Well, listen, somebody's got to call the plays. And if you're calling the play and AJ's the primary in the route 3 times in a row, then guess where the quarterback's going to start with the ball? And if he starts with the number one guy and he's stuck there, he's going to go there. Listen, they both bear the responsibility. Like, Jalen has the final say at the line of scrimmage. When that play is called, he has the final say to look at to observe the field and look at what he's getting. And if AJ is the primary, to either change the play or take his primary read in a different direction. Start with the secondary, okay? So he bears the responsibility of that. But the coaches are the chessboard masters. They're the ones that's calling the plays in anticipation of what may transpire on the field. Now it's up to Jalen, to make the right decisions to get the team in and out of the right play. He's done that, to a greater degree this year, than a lesser degree. But at the same time, I mean, you can't come out and say, I'm going to throw the ball to A.J. Brown 3 times in a row, and the other 4 guys that are potential wide receivers or receivers of the ball, I'm not even going to look their way, because it was plain to see. Jahan Dotson was on the left side of Jalen, and the cornerback was 15 yards off the damn ball. Now, it doesn't take a rocket science that I don't care where the primary is.
On a 3rd and 2.
On a 3rd and 2, okay? Rub the side of your head and tell Jahan to run a stop route, which he ran at 3 yards, and Jalen never looked that way. He never looked that way. He made up his mind that he was going right with the football, and be damned, hell be damned, he was not going in a different direction. You can't play the game of football that way. I'm sorry. You just can't.
All right, how about some praises for one of the players on this team? Right, Jahad Campbell had himself a good game, helped force a fumble in that situation there with Bucky Irving. Also came in off the tipped interception there from Reed Blankenship. He was able to get that interception in the end zone for a touchback to help stall that, well, really eliminate that drive there for the Bucs, so they came away with that drive with no points. And then Cooper DeJean, I felt, was setting the tone time and time again, especially in the tackling avenue here. Because if you go back to the game last year in the regular season against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Eagles were missing tackles left and right. We've talked a lot about how that team really changed after that game. They had the bye week. Saquon Barkley got the ball more and more after that. Jalen didn't turn the football over after that. Cooper DeJean coming in, as we talked about in the pregame show, was a huge difference maker on that Eagles defense last year and really helped turn the tides. Also in the tackling department today, Seth, every time he was around the football, he was making a play.
He put on a tackling clinic.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into, by the way, let's say it right now. Cooper DeJean, our mid-Penn Bank player to bank on in this win today for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was the one that was going out there with 8 solo tackles in total today. Very impressive day.
Very impressive. And you know what? If I'm the DB coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to take this game and all 8 of those solo tackles, I'm going to put them on a practice reel. And I'm going to sit the rest of the damn DBs under my tutelage, and I'm going to make them watch all 8 of those tackles, okay? I'm tired of watching Keely Ringo trying to tackle people up around their shoulder pads and miss tackles, okay? I'm tired of watching Reed Blankenship miss tackles. I'm tired of watching these guys try to tackle guys up high and thinking that they're going to drag somebody down because they think that they put their hands on them, okay? Cooper DeJean tackles in a way where he understands that guys have legs and they run with their legs. And you can hit them up high, but if you don't touch their legs, guess what they're going to do? They're just going to keep on running. So Cooper DeJean makes it a point that I'm going to come in, and he aims, okay, Mark, we talked about it, and it sounds brutal, and it sounds, unethical. But if that running back don't want to go down, this is the method by which you get his ass on the ground, okay? You aim 6 inches above the knee with the intention on snapping the femur above the damn knee. That's how you put somebody on the ground. Now, okay, I know it sounds brutal, but if you want him on the ground worse than he wants to stay up, if you hit him in that manner, I promise you, he will get his ass on the ground, okay? It doesn't make any sense. And you know what? Football's a brutal game. And sometimes, maybe some of y'all that's watching don't want to hear that. But that's the mentality that you have to play this game. This is the way that you play it. And these guys coming up with these half-hearted efforts and then getting up and clapping their hands, I almost got him. I'm sick and damn tired of it.
It's not just an Eagles problem. tackling has been a problem across the National Football League for years, and I've always been screaming, how does a smaller man think he's going to take a bigger man down by the shoulder pads? This has been a problem that they don't teach DBs how to tackle anymore for the most part. But Cooper DeJean was textbook. You know, when you're coming up there, what do they tell you, Seth? Always look at a man's belt buckle when he's carrying the ball. Look at his belt buckle area and then put your hand in there and slow him down, especially a bigger man. College football, pro football over the last 10 years, I don't think they teach tackling anymore. Either you have a natural gift to do it or you don't, because you see it across the board. In college, they come out and do the same thing in the pros. And a lot of these guys that try to tackle above the waist and end up making a Pro Bowl, I'm like, how in the world are you making a Pro Bowl the way you miss as many tackles as you make? I do like the fact that Cooper DeJean, I hate to say this, Cooper DeJean looked really good playing on the outside in the base package. Mm-hmm. Cooper may be your cornerback you need to put on the outside. I hate to say it.
They just got to find somebody who can step in at the slot in order for them to do it. And I agree with you. He's there. Listen,
I think he's a guy.
He is a premier guy. Let me tell you something about tackling, D-Gun. Mm-hmm. You know, tackling is nothing more than an attitude.
That's right.
It's nothing more than want to. You guys have heard me say it before. I'll say it again, okay? That guy has the ball, okay? He's trying to get to the goal line. You're trying to stop him as a defender from getting to the goal line, okay? He gets hit a couple of times. You know, they're ranting and raving about his want to, his desire to stay on his feet. Well, guess what? As a defender, what's your desire? Is it your desire to put his ass down on the ground, or is his desire greater than yours? So tackling is nothing more than attitude. Nothing more than attitude as far as I'm concerned. I'm either coming 100 miles an hour to put you down, or I'm coming 75 and hoping that I tap you just hard enough for you to fall down. Mm-hmm. And guess what? These running backs ain't trying to fall down. These running backs are trying to get to the end zone and get them 7 damn points. That's how they get their glory. So you better come with the intent, and that's why I say aim for the top of the knee, with the intent to snap the femur at the top of the damn knee, okay? That's if their intent is to get in the end zone, then my intent is to keep them out. And if my intent is to keep them out, if that's what I got to do, then that's what I'm going to do.
All right, let's call out who you're saying, by the way. It is Keely Ringo who we're talking about here. As far as, I mean, now look, a lot of guys missed tackles today, but Keely Ringo ate 2 stiff arms from Bucky Irving on successive plays. Yeah. Ate them, just ate a sandwich of stiff arms. And then, very next play, Cooper DeJean has the interception that was unfortunately called back. And then throughout the rest of the game, you saw Cooper DeJean stepping up to make those plays. But Gunner, don't be sorry, by the way. And base coverage especially, he needs to be on the outside.
And listen, and I can see why. Keely has struggled to get on the field, because in the first preseason game, he missed a tackle, guy turned it up for a touchdown, and Vic Fangio lost it, you know? So I can see why. If you can't trust the guy, like he has all the skill sets. He's got the size, he'll hit you, everything else. And he's decent in coverage. But if you can't trust a guy to tackle, you can't put him out there and play him. And Vic put him out there because he had to today, okay? But if he doesn't improve his tackling, it's going to be very difficult for Vic Fangio to put him back out there. And he's going to have to make the tough decision. Do I move Cooper DeJean outside and put Sidney Brown in the slot?
I love Sidney Brown's enthusiasm when he plays. But he plays at such a pace, he misses more tackles than he makes, number one. He's injured more than he plays, number two. Obviously, they're not interested right now in going out and getting anybody else to try to fill that void. When Adoree Jackson comes back, is he your starting corner again?
Yep.
Okay. Who is that guy? Who's the guy to go opposite of Quinyon Mitchell?
Adoree Jackson.
What?
Adoree Jackson is the starter.
I know. I'm saying, should he beat up? I mean, really?
I mean, it's not a brag.
No, I agree with you 100%. He's going to be the guy because of his veteran presence over the competition. That's why he brought him in here. But I'm not comfortable with him over there. Mm-hmm. So I think it goes back to what we're saying. Cooper DeJean is going to have to be your outside guy, and you're going to have to spend a lot of time in practice trying to figure out who can fill his void in that nickel position. Because right now, Sidney Brown is the best option, but Sidney Brown makes me nervous because of the way he plays with such reckless abandon. A lot of times he over-pursues. He tries arm tackling. He tries to tackle up high. and he misses as many tackles as he makes, so that's not your solution. So who out there? There's nothing out there in the open market that can help you as well.
No, ain't nobody, and nobody's feling bad for the Eagles, and they're not going to give them a player that's worth anything.
No.
I just that was a tackling clinic by Cooper DeJean.
No question.
I'm sorry.
No question.
And I mean, I don't know as a player, and I've been in this situation before as a player. I don't know how you sit in that film room tomorrow and watch as a defensive back. I mean, everybody, every cornerback, every safety that played today, and in some instances, even the linebackers. I don't know how you sit and you watch that film tomorrow and you're not motivated to tackle the way that he tackled, okay? Because he was the only one today that tackled with that kind of authority. Him and Jahad Campbell. When Jahad Campbell, his open field tackling is just phenomenal. Like, a lot of players don't have the ability to just come up and break down and make the tackle. I mean, he does a really good job with that. But tackling was a major issue. Even getting Baker Mayfield down on the ground. It's like, you know, you can't keep grabbing at guys' shoulder pads because they're just going to shrug you off. You know, these guys spent all offseason, D-Gun, lifting weights, dumbbells and barbells. You know what I'm saying? So you think that you're just going to grab them by their shirt and they just going to lay down for you? No, you got to put people down. The way you put them down is you take their legs away from them.
You know, we've watched big running backs like Derrick Henry claim to fame, stiff-arming people and putting their face in the dirt. But that's a big man that goes 250 pounds. Bucky Irvin's a little guy, 5'9", and Keely Ringo got planted twice that I can remember in this game. And Bucky, I mean, but he wasn't the only one that Bucky stiff-armed in that game. I can't recall who else it was. But again, when you grab somebody like this, and they've got the momentum going this way, and you're coming from an angle to get him, who has the leverage? The running back. Running back has the leverage.
You want to know the other thing, D-Gun? The other thing is it's just like in man coverage. You know, most of the time you get PIs or even holding penalties. Most of the time you get these penalties because you're out of position, okay? And because you're out of position or you're out of phase in coverage, you begin to grasp because you get the sense that, oh, my God, you know, I'm beat, okay? It's the same thing with tackling. Guys don't want to miss tackles, so they're afraid to take their shot. But tackling is like, okay, I got to understand where I am on the field, where my help is, where I can miss and where I can't miss. If I'm the last line of defense, I got to turn everything back in, okay? If I've got a guy outside, then I'm attacking the inside leg, knowing and trusting that that guy on the outside is coming too. So I can attack at 100 miles an hour, realizing that I'm trusting that the guy on the outside is going to be there to support me. It's the same exact thing if you're on the outside. If I'm on the outside, I don't have to there's no need for me to be apprehensive whatsoever. I can attack the outside leg 120 miles an hour. You want to know why? Because I'm trusting that the guys on the inside will be there. That's right. Okay? Now, if you don't have an understanding of that, then you're going to be apprehensive. And I'm not saying that I played my entire career and I did it all right because I noticed somebody that's in the chat that's running his damn mouth, okay? But what I'm saying from a coaching standpoint, if I'm coaching these players, okay, I got to understand where's my help. If I'm outside and I'm the last line of defense outside, I'm trying to force everything inside so I can attack the outside leg, and I don't care what kind of moves he makes. All I'm looking at is that outside leg. It's the same situation. If I'm inside and I've got help outside, I'm coming 120 miles an hour from the inside out, realizing and trusting that I got help on the outside, and now we can begin to cut down on these missed tackles. But until they have that understanding and until they start playing in that manner, we're going to continue to have this. And you're going to continue to see, to your point, create bad tackling across the National Football League because these guys aren't taught these simple things.
You know, we talk about how sometimes it doesn't make sense through 4 games how the Eagles found a way to win a game. Now, this can't be – I'm assuming this is a misprint here because I'm looking at the stats right now. At halftime, the Eagles had 201 yards of offense, if I'm not mistaken. And Tampa Bay had 99 yards of offense. Okay. Second half, the Eagles had 200 yards of offense, and Tampa Bay had 376 yards of offense. What happened?
Hey, listen,
what the hell happened?
Right. There was a point in time where I looked at Mark. I was like, Mark, It's the fourth quarter. You know Jalen Hurts still got 130 yards passing. He had 130 yards passing, and I got it right here in my notes. He was 15 for 16, 130 yards passing in the first half. In the fourth quarter, he was 20 for whatever, 130 yards passing.
I even opened the show because I didn't want to say he didn't have a completion in the second half. He didn't have one. He did not have one. I wanted to confirm it. Yeah, he did not have a completion in the second half.
In the last 30 minutes of football,
he finished the first half 15 of 16. He finished the game 15 to 24. 130 in the first half, 0 in the second half.
Come on, wait a minute. I gotta look at my notes. You're telling me this man did not complete one pass in the entire second half of football?
Here it is. 15 to 16 in the first half. I'll go ahead and do the live scroll. I know this is exciting.
He got the game book.
15 of 14 to finish the game, 130 yards.
He
didn't have a completion. Let me just say,
30 minutes of football.
In the second half of football, nothing.
That's unbelievable.
Nothing. Look,
not a screen pass, nothing.
Nothing.
What screen pass you seen them throw?
I don't know, man.
That ain't even in their offense.
All right, by the way, we will check in to see what the people are saying in the chat, Seth, to see if they're ripping you or not, which I don't know. I'm not going to rip anyone that's like, hey, you know what I want to do? Break some femurs. I'm going to stay on that guy's good side.
Y'all know me well enough that I don't give a damn what they're talking about in there.
Very true. When we come back, we'll check in with our social media correspondent, Bailey Livesey, and see what you great people are talking about in the chat. That's when we return on the Verizon postgame show.
Don't hurt him, Kev. All
nothing.
dripped up. Got the new iPhone 17 Pro, and Verizon picked up the tab on the best 5G network, baby.
No way.
It's me. Handsome and hilarious.
No way.
No way. I know. I'm even finer in person. Ooh.
No way.
Wait, it was about the iPhone? Come on.
New and existing customers can get the new iPhone 17 Pro on us on the best 5G network.
That's real nice.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. Our social media correspondent Bailey Livesey has been standing by and monitoring the chat as well as social media in general. And I know there's a lot of hot takes out there with another victory by the Philadelphia Eagles. But as Mike Schmidt once said, the joy of victory and the agony of reading about it the next day. Bailey, what are the good people talking about?
Well, yes, this game had plenty of moments where people were talking. And Seth, there were multiple questions in your comments section about 3rd and long and how we always run. Do you agree with running the ball there, or, as your comments are saying it, is it just conceding the play?
Well, a lot depends on, where you are in the game. If the game is in the balance, I don't subscribe to that. I mean, you got to throw the ball and try to, I know the percentages say that more times than not, you're going to not complete a 15-yard, pass and get a first down. But it's not like it's never happened before. Good Lord, this organization is famous for, what is it, 4th and 22, Mark?
4th and 26.
4th and 26. So if you're behind in the game, yeah, you probably got to go for it. But it seems to me that the mode of operation, not only with this team, but with every team, is you get in 3rd and long situation, rather than trying to complete it, run a screen or do something else, they just turn around and hand the ball off and take what they can get and punt the ball away. I don't know. As a defensive mind, I'm like, bravo. I'm glad you're going to give up, because really that's what you're saying. But I don't know. It's just, that's the way these coaches think nowadays. They're not pushing the envelope. They can be so aggressive in certain areas and so passive in other areas that it just makes you wonder. But, you know, what do I know? I'm just an analyst.
Well, former player and quite frankly, Hall of Fame level while we're at it. But when it comes to the Eagles, what I've noticed this year, and it really jumped out to me in the Kansas City Chiefs game, is there's a conservative mindset of of Nick Sirianni and maybe even Kevin Patullo and all this as well, that does not have them taking the bigger shots that we saw even last year. Now, running on third down, especially third and long, is not ideal, but if you remember last year, they had a big run on about a 3rd and 17 where they were either going to settle for the field goal. It just so happened that Saquon broke one off for about a 19-yard touchdown run, and that everyone loved. But when it comes to this, I think about that Kansas City Chiefs game before halftime. Nick Sirianni didn't call a timeout. He let the clock run. There was a field goal opportunity, but instead they just went right to halftime. That's in Nick Sirianni in years past. We've seen him be a little bit more aggressive. We've seen Nick Sirianni on kickoffs after the opposing team scores with about 40 seconds left in the first half. They still try to get down the field and get a field goal. For whatever reason, that mentality, that mindset, that strategy is not being applied this year. Now, I don't know if that's bumps in the road with Kevin Patullo. I don't know if that's the offensive line being lackluster, maybe even a little banged up. Jalen Hurts being off the mark, wide receivers not being able to get open. There's a number of things it could be. But the overall attempt at doing it, Gunner, has not been there this year like we've seen in years past.
Yeah, I know. And the thing that really has surprised me is that the offensive line, and I understand they've had injuries, but the offensive line has not been as dominant as we watched all of last season. The same guys are there, and even when they've had to bring in backups, the backups played well last year. So what's the difference this year? Is it because defenses are stacking more people at the line of scrimmage and not giving them the lanes to run through or allowing them to do some of the things they want to do, or is it the offensive line? I'm still trying to figure this out as I watch the tape. You know, they're excellent when it comes to short yardage situation, but when it comes to the overall running aspect of and even blocking. You know, even blocking for passing plays, they haven't been as stout as they were a year ago. Jalen has had to move his feet a lot more this season through 4 games than I believe I saw him through 8 or 9 games last year. And I don't know why. You know, you always talk about whether it's an offense or defense, the opposition will catch up to what you're doing eventually, you know. And I don't know if the opposition is figuring out what they're doing and catching up to it. Yes, they're 4-0. But we haven't seen a dominant performance. We haven't seen 4 complete quarters out of this team all season yet. I think it's still early. I get it, still early.
I think with the offensive line, the issue is I don't think anybody's lining up in their fronts and staying there against this team, realizing that if this offensive line is so good and so dominant, and beyond the fact that I think that no matter what anybody thinks and how good we think Tyler Steen is, we miss Mekhi Becton's size, you know, and we miss his toughness in the middle of our offense. I feel like teams are lining up, and they're not just playing their gaps. They are slanting, shooting gaps. They're sending linebackers on early down to be able to stop the run. You know, the Eagles like to condense their formations, which brings more guys into the box area, and then it allows you to move a safety over and have that guy in man coverage and shoot that guy in coverage where you don't really have to worry about that guy getting out, you know, to catch a pass. I was watching a game. While we were watching the game, I made a comment, you know, to you, Farzy. It's like, you know, Jalen dropped back into the pocket. He starts to scramble a little bit. Guy rushes up the field. Vita Vea rushes up the field against, you know, Landon Dickerson, and Landon blocks him 1,001, 1,002, and then he lets him go. But Vita Vea is still going 100 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, you know, he breaks away, and Jalen's trying to scramble and get away, and Vita Vea gets the sack. And I'm like, dude, did you hear a whistle blow that indicated to you that the play was over? You're supposed to be blocking him. Keep blocking him until you hear the whistle. Turn and block him until you hear a whistle. That's your indication to stop blocking. So when you start to look at little things like that, you know, the fact that teams are scheming the Eagles a little differently, that it's not lining up where they can just blow off the line, you know, and do what they want to do like they did last year. And in pass coverage and pass pro, they're just not sticking on and staying with their blocks. Move your feet and stay with your guy.
Bailey, I know we're going to try to get to hear from Nick Sirianni coming up in a little bit, but what else do you have for us as far as what's going on social? We have Sirianni actually at the podium. Bailey, I apologize. We're going to get back to you on that. Let's get to Nick Sirianni at the podium.
to just an ability to start each season off at a high level and then the win today?
Yeah, training camp, I think our guys, we just got guys that work their butts off. We stress it. We talk about it, how the hard work. That's what we talked about all week is that, the work, the game, and the work that you put into the game never lie to you. And we got guys that put the work in. We got coaches that put the work in. Listen, we got a lot to clean up. But to be 4-0, that's good. What we talked about was don't let good get in the way of great. So we got a lot to clean up. We'll enjoy this. Again, I feel like I broke a record. We'll enjoy this tonight. We'll enjoy this in the locker room. We'll enjoy it on the plane. And then tomorrow's going to be tough for all of us. We'll get the corrections made that we need to make.
When you've had the second half, obviously the offense didn't get going. And last week was the first half. Is it more that the passing game isn't going, or is it more that the running game?
Yeah, I'll have to look at all that. Again, we weren't, coaching, playing second half. They got us right. We didn't play. We had enough of a lead, and we made enough turnovers to hang on to the lead. But we obviously played good there. Running game, passing game, it was everything. It wasn't just you can't single out one. This is a team game. It's never just. I don't ever think it's just one, because sometimes you're in 2nd and 11, and then that because of an incomplete pass or a sack or whatever it is. So or a minus run. So it's never just one thing in my mind. We'll look at the tape. I'll have probably better insight for you tomorrow on that.
1,000-foot view, what was the difference offensively between the first and second half?
Yeah, obviously obviously we get our one unbelievable job by our special teams to get things started. We knew this was going to be a dogfight. I didn't care really what the score was at the end of the first half. We knew this was going to be a dogfight because this is a really well-coached, good football team with good players. And so great job by them to get it started. But then our offense fed off that. We were able to be on the football after completions or after good gains and really get the tempo going. In the second half, very similar, right? It's hard to do tempo when you're not successful on first and second down. So we weren't able to get into as much tempo there. We talked about it at halftime, right? When teams have leads like that, you look at a couple things, right? You look at offensively, you can't go 3 and out, and we went 3 and out. Offensively, you can't turn the ball over. Why do teams blow those leads? Defensively, you can't. Well, we didn't turn it over. Defensively, you can't give up explosives. We gave up explosives. Now we turned them over a couple times. But again, we were able to have enough of a lead to keep it on, but that's not how we want to play, and we want to be aggressive, and that's not how we want to play the second half, offensively, defensively. Now, give them a lot of credit. I think the world of Baker Mayfield. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think the world of I think their coordinator does a good job. I think Todd Bowles does a good job. New young receivers, a really good player. Godwin's been a good player for a long time. That number 7, Irvin, is a special back. So really good players, good scheme. I give them a lot of credit. It's nice to be on the other end coming out of here with a win.
Nick, you mentioned that you want the team to play with aggression. Quinyon seemed super emotional today, and a lot of your players did. There was another taunting penalty. What do you say to the players about that? And then also, it looks like you were going back and forth with Baker. Can you talk us through that moment?
Oh, Baker and I, go back to when we practiced against him when we were in Indy, when he was at Cleveland. His quarterback coach, actually, Ryan Lindley, who was there then as his quarterback coach, played for me when I was a quarterback coach. So I got to know Baker. I got a lot of respect for him. I think he's a competitive dude. Just talking a little bit back and forth right there because we know each other, and again, like I said to him, besides our guy, he's one of my favorite guys to watch in the NFL. I said that to him after the game because I got a lot of respect for him. As far as the emotion, it's an emotional game, and I feel like I'm saying the same thing here. But again, we got to play within the rules of the game, and we can't worry about. If I think a penalty, now maybe I'm arguing on the side of hey, that one looked a lot like Coops and you didn't call it. That's besides the point. We have to play to the rules of our game. So if they're going to call it that close, we got to respect the rules of the game. Now, with that being said, that was our one personal foul. I don't count we have to clean up our roughing the passers. That's a different type of personal foul in my mind. But yeah, we can't have those because it extended a drive that helped them get points, which could have cost us at the end. So again, all these things that come through, right? I say to these guys, right? We're 4-0. That's good, but don't let good get in the way of great. We got to clean up some of this stuff, and that's definitely one of them.
How did Jalen Hurts perform?
I thought, again, I'll have to watch the second half. And first half he was 14. I look at the stat sheet, 15 to 16. That's good. That's pretty darn good. And then the second half, again, we didn't coach well enough. We didn't play well enough in the second half. We were able to hang on for the win because the defense was able to get us some turnovers. But second half, I'm not sure any of us played or coached to our standard there on offense. But that first half is about as good as you can play, there. So I'll have to watch the tape. But he played about as good of the first half as you could play.
Nick, with respect to Elliott's question about the discipline, given the youth of the defense, is that something that maybe you and the staff have to focus more on because
Nick Sirianni is addressing the media. I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction for next week's show, gentlemen, just real quick. In our Say What segment, they got us. They got that second half. They got us. What can I say?
It ain't going to last that long. How do you stand up there and make that declaration? In the second half, they got us?
There they got us.
I guarantee you, the radio station's going to be playing with that all week long.
Man, listen,
they got us.
I love our head coach, man. Contrary to, what a lot of y'all would believe, man.
Don't say y'all.
But that one, that comment, they got us. You actually came up with that on air. They got us in the second half.
Out loud, into a microphone, room full of reporters. That's how that
My
works.
favorite comment was, don't let good get in the way of great.
Okay.
I like that.
I'd like
you
to
hold on to that.
There we go.
I like that.
That's a positive side of things.
They got us?
There we go.
They got us. Okay.
I don't know how, but they got us.
All right,
Nick. Bailey, what else is going on social media?
You may barely have to go back on social media to get some more questions after that
might have
comment.
to check back, Bailey. Yeah, but what else do you have for us?
Well, Nick Sirianni mentioned the special teams, and there was this post on X that reads, the 2025 Eagles are the first NFL team in 10 years with consecutive games with a blocked kick, punt return for a touchdown. What does it say about the special teams and this unit right now?
I mean, they're really making things easier for this team to rack up W's, that's for sure. I mean, the way they've been able to play, and here's the tweet right there, they've been able to play at an extremely high level, just looking back to last week. Then also you're talking about earlier in the season, you're talking about a 58-yard field goal from Jake Elliott. He's been money this year, had another 40-plus today, which was great. But then you're also seeing them come up with these blocks that is just off the charts. And you mentioned this during the game, Seth. Michael Clay was a guy that people wanted fired a couple of years ago, but he kept his job, and things have really turned around on the special teams aspect of things for this team.
Well, I mean, listen, contrary to popular belief or understanding, the game of football is 3 different phases. It's defense, offense, and special teams, and not necessarily in that order. And you heard Tom Brady talk about it, during the broadcast today. You need to win in 2 of those areas. You've got to either the special team and the defense has got to win, or the offense and the defense has got to win. But you got to win 2 out of the 3 in order to normally win a game. And the Eagles are doing that. Listen, there have been plenty of games where, I've been involved where we won because of the special teams. What about those games where at the end the field goal kicker kicks a field goal with no time left on the clock? It's still a win, okay? So you need all 3 phases in order to win. But most importantly, in order to get the W each and every week, you better win 2 out of 3 of those phases in order for you to win. So I'm not concerned about it because there's a lot of teams, D, that have lost games because, they've lacked in 2 of the 3 phases, The Eagles have this uncanny ability that when the offense isn't working right, the defense and the special teams are getting it done. And when the defense is having a lull, the special teams is getting it done. Even while the offense is still sputtering along long enough, they're doing just enough to keep the defense in it while the special teams keeps you in it. Like take Brandon Mann, for instance, today, okay? The way he punted the ball, he had a 60-yard punt today.
Oh, my goodness.
When the Eagles' offense was non-operational, he was punting the ball and giving us the benefit of field position. Now, the Eagles defense turned around and gave it up with 2 70-yard-plus touchdowns, But you have to have that in order for you to win. And sometimes it may fall at odd points in the game, but that's just the way the game works.
52 yards per punt, by the way.
Wow.
He had 363 yards on each punt, Braden Mann, today.
In the span of 8 days, special teams was the difference between winning and losing these two games. Without those key plays, the 2 block field goals last week, the block punt this week, Eagles might be sitting here 2-2 right now, number one. Number two, Michael Clay about to get paid. Think about this. He's about to get paid because this special teams unit is one of the best in the National Football League. They have been instrumental throughout the course of the season, from the punting to punt coverage to kickoff coverage, so on and so. The best teams have all 3 phases working. We need them most. But like Seth said, sometimes when the offense is stuck in neutral, the other 2 jump in. When the defense has had its flaws, the offense has picked up the slack. When both of them have been inconsistent, something happens on special teams to bail them out. It's all you want. It's all you want from a winning entity. We know every week that this Eagles team is everybody's Super Bowl, and everybody's shooting a shot at them.
Fair.
And they found a way to dodge landmines for 4 consecutive weeks now. Now that's not going to. They can't survive like this a whole season, a whole 17-game season. That's not going to happen. But for right now, what they've needed, all 3 phases in some capacity, has bailed this team out for 4 consecutive weeks.
Bailey, we'll try to get another one in with you a little bit later in the show. We got to hit the break here. When it comes to what's coming up next, we have the drive of the game for the Philadelphia Eagles, and it really is indicative of the entire game because it wasn't that long, but it was game-clinching. We'll talk about that when we return on the Verizon postgame show.
Picture this. You play big-time college football, you get some NIL money. You get drafted in the NFL, and you start making real big money. However, you're 23 years old and you don't have any credit. Here at Mid-Penn Bank, we're helping these athletes establish credit through secured credit cards and other strategies that can help develop their credit now, so as they continue to make money, they can have long-term success financially.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Recovery Unplugged. It wasn't the best drive of the game, but it was a game-clinching drive there. Eagles were able to get this one done thanks to our drive of the game, which came later in the third quarter. Eagles were able to put together a drive punched in there, not in a tush push, but a fake tush push from the 7:19 to the 3:51 mark of the third quarter. 6 plays, just 25 yards. Eagles line up in tush push formation, and Saquon Barkley is able to punch it in there on a little bit of a sweep, a tush push sweep, if you will, for the touchdown that helped the Eagles out get to this victory. Jalen Hurts is taking it to the podium right now. We'll go to him live.
And that's something that you can learn from, and that's something that will be fixed. But you know, we're finding ways to win, and that's what it comes down to in the end.
The fake tush push. A, what was going on there, and B, like, does that kind of put it into the mind of teams going forward that, hey, they might run a fake on this,
I don't have too much of an in-depth explanation for what it was. Exactly what you saw.
It's now been almost a full calendar year since you started and lost the game. I know it's a big picture question, but you think about that run of success, just what does that stat mean to you?
Man, it can, you can be on top one day and at the bottom the next, so this game is very humbling, and I take that approach in it, and you just got to be of the notion of getting better, stretching yourself every day, trying to grow every day, having that competitive mentality with things every day. And that's what we have as a team. That's what I have. And just want to continue to build off of that.
And speaking of us, Nick said his was don't let good get in the way of great. What's your interpretation of that?
Say that again?
Nick said his message to the team was don't let good get in the way of great. What's your interpretation of that?
This has been his message all week. Don't let good get in the way of great. And it's a challenge to not settle for good. It's a challenge to be critical of yourselves as players, as coaches, everybody, and say, how can we be greater than what we are? And so, like I said, it's a humbling game. If you don't have that mentality, then you're really doing a disservice to the game itself. So we play this game to win. We take great pride in winning. We also take great pride in improvement.
But there was, you guys have talked a lot about focusing on this season, this particular state of the team. Is there this relevance to come out of here with a win, and does that reinforce kind of the focus on this?
Yeah. I mean, every game is circled, and they're all circled with their own reasons of why. And I think being able to come and find a win in a very competitive and tough environment against a really good team, a well-coached team, that's something you take pride in. And again, you always take pride in the things that you can improve on, the things you see on film when you watch it and say, hey, we can be better here. But there's pride in everything overall.
To take the lead on your cleats, said John Air, where did you just kind of come up with that concept, and how creative do you like to get with some of the messaging you have on your cleats when you're out there?
That's just something that John Air. I mean, something unique. John Air came up with it in the off season, and usually when I pick out my cleats, I don't know which one I'm going to wear until maybe when I wake up or when I get to the locker room, trying to have everything available. And I felt like this was an 11 type of day, and it was a John Air type of day, and it held true. So it was good to wear those.
The first time as an offense already up 7-0.
Say that again?
How nice is it to take the field as an offense already up 7-0?
You're not looking at the scoreboard.
Jalen Hurts at the podium right there in Tampa. Go ahead.
Why are they asking him about his damn cleats?
I don't know. That was an odd question.
The offense had -1 yards in the entire second half of the game.
That's wild.
And you got the people in the media room asking him about his damn cleats.
Not one completion after his head hit the turf either.
That's wild.
Okay. All right. Well, that was the question. Those were the questions. I have a question for Bailey Livesey. Hey, Bailey. What kind of shoes you wear? No. What do you have for us as far as what people are saying on social media?
Yeah, well, we have this comment from Kyle about Fox complaining about the tush push today. The Eagles were showing that they can be dominant without the tush push in the first half. Is it time to stop making that play the story and start giving this team the credit that they actually deserve?
I have not been exactly complimentary of Dean Blandino throughout his career, whatever that career is. But he tried to walk back his comments during the broadcast today. Be like, all right, maybe it was a little hot takey when I said that this is a play that it just has to go away. I don't know what his credentials are to be someone talking about officiating. I know he ran the officiating committee for a couple years there, and then all of a sudden was on TV just talking about officiating, despite not being an official. I don't understand it. It's very much a football play. If you start going down the avenue of rugby plays, then there's a couple of tosses, a couple of shovel passes as well that the Eagles had for touchdowns today. They can't be in there as well. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. It's a play that everyone has tried. No one has run it as well as the Eagles, so everyone is just butthurt about it. And that, to me, as someone who has watched every single one of these plays, it's just sour grapes. I don't mean to use technical jargon, but there's really no other way to describe it.
Hey, listen, he makes a good point. He makes a good point.
See that?
At the end of the day, they do it better than everybody else does. And I don't know if you guys saw Landon Dickerson's shirt yesterday. They're mad because we can and they can't. But I love it when they run plays like this because it begins to move the narrative off. And I guess Dean Blandino had been ripped by Eagles fans all last week because of what he said. He tried to walk back actually what he said, and they actually had him on the broadcast during the game. Listen, at the end of the day, he said what he said. And he works for the NFL. He meant what he said because that's what Roger Goodell wants to have happen. He wants that tush push out of the game. So don't walk it back, Dean. You said it, own it, live with it, D-Gun.
It's going to be talked about every time they run it. It's a part of the NFL aura to talk about the tush push. So should the Eagles get credit for making plays without it today? Yes, they should. But they won't because it's the Eagles, and it goes back to what Seth said on the pregame show and what we've talked about on previous shows. I think the league just does not like the Philadelphia Eagles for whatever reason.
I'm going to say this.
And I will say this also. I have heard that from elements in-house at the Eagles for years, that they just feel that for some reason the league nitpicks on stuff that they do and let other teams get away with similar stuff across the board for whatever reason. And I don't know what the reasons are, and I'm not going to sit here and speculate, but you think about it.
Oh, I'm going to speculate.
Saquon gets
no.
Okay, why does the league not like Philadelphia?
Listen, I can't tell you why.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about what I see and what I know. There's no reason in hell that you can play 30 minutes of football and the Eagles got 6 penalties and two 15-yarders on one possession that kept the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the game. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think in the whole first half, didn't have one single penalty, okay? Now, I know they're a good football team, D-Gum. They ain't that damn good. Come on, man.
Last thing on the tush push I'll say.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to cry about how dangerous it is. All these teams across the NFL want to cry about how dangerous it is. Well, then why do they try it? And then after they can't convert it, be like, oh, no, it's just dangerous. Well, then if it's so dangerous, why are you putting your players in that position? That's my question for those NFL teams. Like the Chargers we ran in a couple of weeks ago. These are just the questions I ask, folks. When we come back, now one of the big things about the tush push is that they argue again, people get hurt. Well, there's a couple of players that unfortunately went down today. I also want to talk about hydration with some of these players, whether or not that factored in maybe in the second half. We'll talk about that with the good doctor, Bruce Grossinger, when we return on the Verizon postgame show.
There's a number on the screen.
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 There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
At MidPenn Bank, we believe in the power of community. We're not just another bank, we're your bank. We're also your neighbor. For over 150 years, we've been helping dreams come true, financing projects that make a difference locally. From small businesses to community centers, we're here to support what matters most to you, donating time and resources to strengthen the Philadelphia region. And when Philly's favorite superstars need a bank they can trust, they turn to MidPenn Bank just like you can. MidPenn Bank, stronger communities, stronger futures. Let's build something great together.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
I know what you're thinking. Total glow up. What's her secret? Fine, I'll spill. I totally upgraded with Verizon. Everyone gets a free phone with any plan, even if you're already a customer. Like me. Now I have Google Gemini. It's like a little glam squad in my pocket. Gemini, what eye makeup goes with this lipstick?
I'd suggest a classic cat eye.
Wow, setting the bar high for daycare pickup. Get in on this.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Weber Display and Packaging. Before we get to the sports doc, Dr. Bruce Grossinger, Seth Joyner, you're in a giving mood again this season. You talked about it in the pregame show. What do we got giveaway-wise here on postgame?
And we got so many things we're going to give away this year. We've got 2 sets of suite tickets. We've got 2 game tickets. We've got a plethora of jerseys. You guys see by the as you guys can see by the graphic up there, you know, we're giving away a Jason Kelce jersey today. The results will be announced by the end of the show, unless we have it in the back already. If not, don't worry about it, guys.
The winner up now.
No, there we go. All right.
Oh, hey, Brian.
Brian Donahue. Okay. Brian, you got to reach out to me on one of my social media platforms. If you guys can throw that first graphic up one more time so they can see all the social media handles there. Okay, somewhere along the line there's, 5 of them, 4 of them. The Seth Joyner on Instagram is hacked, so don't go there. There is nothing happening there. You got to go to Seth Joyner Show, either on Instagram or X. Message me there. Obviously, LinkedIn or Facebook, Seth Joyner Show or Seth Joyner on Facebook. And, we will get you your jersey. But there's going to be so many things we got. So we got tickets, we got helmets, we've got signed footballs, and I'm pretty sure my wife can come up with some other things that we're going to give away before the year is over. But, we'll be doing it all season long.
One post with the Philly Fanatic, and all of a sudden you get hacked on Insta. That's the way that one goes down. If you missed pregame, it was worth it. Let's get to the good doctor himself, Dr. Bruce Grossinger, joining us to break it all down when it came to injuries and also hydration, Doc. I know we talked about this some last week, that the Eagles were thinking about going down early. How much do you think that helped them throughout the game, and how much do you think the weather impacted the Eagles' unfortunate second half struggles?
Good evening, gentlemen. I believe that the weather sure did have an impact. We saw Jalen Carter, who we're going to get to late shots, but Jalen Carter looked really winded and dehydrated. There's been a lot of whisperings that he's not in the best of shape, and it's unclear whether a lot of that this time the second half was due to 100-degree field weather or a left shoulder. Today was left shoulder day, as we'll get to with Lane Johnson.
Yeah, it looks like Jalen Carter, diving, trying to make a tackle, kind of fell on his left shoulder, fell awkwardly. But yeah, you could begin to see as the game went on, the guys on the field started to wilt a little bit in how they actually played. But yeah, I mean, injuries are like a big deal in the National Football League, guys. I mean, you can look across the board. Every single team's got multiple guys on IR and multiple guys each week that are out. I was under the impression that the whole intent of holding them out of preseason and waiting to get them into the regular season was to get them to the regular season in shape and in whole. But it seems to me that there's more injuries now than there have ever been by putting guys through a rigorous training camp and getting them ready for the season.
Rigorous? There's no such thing as a rigorous training camp anymore.
Once they left Lehigh.
The best way I've heard it described is, and I forgot who told me this. It was Hugh Douglas or it was Brandon Graham, or one of them was telling me that when you go through training camp, a rigorous training camp, the way that Andy Reid used to run the camps, those type of camps harden the body. Mm-hmm. They harden the body to get ready for the vicious impacts of what's to come. Now, because of the limitations with the collective bargaining agreement put upon the way they train now, you don't get those violent collisions until the season starts. And it's like a shock to your body. And that's why you see in the first 2 or 3 weeks so many hamstring injuries, so many Achilles tendon injuries, so many ACL injuries. It's because the body has not been properly trained getting ready for what's to come. And that's what but see, we said, well, the league wanted. No, that's what the players wanted in their latest collective bargaining agreement. They wanted less rigorous training camps to get ready for that, obviously, the extended season, which is now a 17-game season instead of a 16-game season. But there's a price to pay for that, and we're watching these players week in and week out, especially the first month of a season, pay that price.
Unfortunately, Doc, the Eagles were down even further on their depth chart when it came to the defensive back position. Adoree Jackson, what do you think his injury is going to bear going forward?
So he continues to struggle with the groin injury, which is part of a hamstring process. We know how tricky those are. He's probably going to need a lot more physical therapy and ice, but clearly he's out. Jalen Carter, I guess it's noteworthy that Jalen Carter played a very big role in the interception by Jihad Campbell. He was the one who first flushed Baker Mayfield out. And so I think despite having the shoulder pain and shoulder strain, perhaps, he did play a crucial role in this game.
You mentioned Lane Johnson as well. What do you know about Lane?
What I heard is, much like D. Gunn heard, that the Eagles officially listed him as having a shoulder injury. And so that's differing from last week where he had a stinger, where he had a neck injury, that word you recall, neuropraxia, that rears its ugly head again this week. So this was a shoulder injury, and it appears Lane is going to have an MRI. The considerations will be rotator cuff tear, a labral tear, or separated shoulder. So that's going to be really important. He was on the sidelines for much of the second half, so perhaps we can infer the X-rays didn't show any fractures.
And then also Nolan Smith, we know, is on IR as well, one of the few Eagles over the last week to be placed on IR. Are you expecting this to be the basis of just a 4-week injury?
We can only hope, but we certainly we know that we've seen triceps injuries with Brandon Graham last year, where he had a triceps tear, he got back, and in one play in the Super Bowl, he tore his triceps. So triceps are very tricky. Nolan Smith had a triceps injury last year, and he came back and apparently was healthy. This looks to be a recurrent triceps injury. And as far as the diameter of the triceps or what the nature of the injury is, we're going to have to watch it very carefully.
Yeah, he got hurt in the Super Bowl as well, but still just played. He just kept playing because obviously it's the Super Bowl. As far as Jalen Hurts, from a medical perspective, when his head hit the turf in the second half there against the Buccaneers, it didn't look like he was evaluated on the sideline. It looked like he was right back out there playing still. Obviously, he was out there for the next play. What goes through your mind from a medical perspective when you see something like that? And do you know if he was evaluated on the sidelines?
I'm pretty sure. I would say I know he was not evaluated. I looked at the Eagles. I checked. Now that we have AI, you can search a lot of things. There was no mention of him having a concussion. If there's even a whiff of a concussion, he's obliged to be looked at. There's a whole protocol, as you know. At minimally, he'd have to go in the blue tent, and he did not. So I saw the same thing that Seth did. I saw him slam his head. And we just don't know. I've seen Jalen Hurts at times have trouble, going through his reads. I've seen him at times look bewildered, and I'm as big a Hurts fan as any. And he sure ran a lot in the first half, and it was 100 degrees. So I haven't heard about a concussion, but when I heard Seth talk about that, it certainly came to mind.
Well, as far as it's worth mentioning, the NFL usually does a really good job of catching that. I like seeing it right away. And I really didn't I thought that it was a helmet-to-helmet hit because they actually called a penalty on the play, and then they picked up the flag because they said that he hit the shoulder pad. But I thought right away when the way he kind of paused to get up, he looked woozy for a second, and I'm like, at any minute they're going to whistle down and pull him out of the game and take him in the blue tent and take a look at him. And they never did. And then when I saw the replay, I'm like, oh, that's what it was. As he's getting down, the guy went over top of him, but then you can clearly see the back of his head, boom, hit the ground. And he didn't look right, man. I mean, I'm not making any excuses for, potentially why he played the way he played in the second half, but he didn't look right the rest of that game, and he didn't play the way we expected him to play the rest of that game either.
Doc, just real quick, after a game like this, the hydration, is it just crushing water on the way home? How's it work?
Well, I think there'll be a lot of oral liquids. There might be some IVs when they get back to Philadelphia. There's a lot of ways they can replenish electrolytes. They can throw antioxidants in. In our practice, we specialize in that as well. So I believe they're going to get a lot of IVs, a lot of hydration, and they'll go back and they'll be in the ice. And there'll be a lot of ice this week. It seems there are a lot of soft tissue injuries, as you gentlemen noted. And I think it is contributed by the lack of being in game shape and the preseason being such a cakewalk. These people don't get in shape the way Seth did, where he's played 3 practices a day. And I think it's evident by look at all the hamstrings, calves, shoulders throughout the league. It's endemic.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Bruce Grossier, we thank you so much for joining us and also your insight as well. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good night.
You as well.
Be good, Doc.
Before we take our next break, there's one thing we haven't talked about yet, and that's the 2 broken plays there by the Eagles secondary, unfortunately, in this game. Both 70-plus yards. You had Bucky Irving go for 72 yards in broken coverage, and then Igbuka also steps up there with a 77-yard play down the sideline, a play that he just did not quit on. Also, you had Bucky Irving down the sideline being able to beat Jihad Campbell in coverage after a long scramble, buying time by Baker Mayfield in the pocket. Seth, what gets said after plays like that? Because unfortunately today for the Eagles, there were 2 of them. Both went for big scores.
Well, I mean, listen, we gave Reed Blankenship a lot of smoke last week for not being over top of, a wide receiver on an explosive play. It looked like it was his fault, but then when you see when you see the actual replay, you realize that Andrew Makuba made the same mistake that Reed made last week by not getting his depth at the snap and keeping, Igbuka in front of him. So, and then Reed's like screaming across the field to try to, help him. And I'm still trying to figure out how the heck Baker got that ball between the 2 defenders, and he actually caught it, and turned it upfield. So, listen, you got one rookie on one side making a mistake, and then Jihad. It's one of those situations where Baker is scrambling and holding the ball a lot longer than you would suspect, and he'll learn, because anytime that he's got that running back and that running back runs an out route, the first thing I'm trying to look at is his angle on the out route. Is it a true out route, or are you trying to get me to bite on the out and up? Well, it was a true out route. And then when he realized that Baker was in trouble, he turned it up. And for that split second, Jihad looked back at the quarterback. And when he looked back at the quarterback, that was the separation that Bucky Irving needed, and now he's scrambling. In the future, what he'll do is the minute that guy gets to the sideline and is already determined that it's not an out and up, he'll start to climb and get high on him now. So now, if the running back decides he want to come back to the ball, now you can break up on it. But you're never going to let that guy get behind you, in a situation like that. That'll never happen again. That's a learning experience for both of these young players.
All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look at Jihad Campbell a little bit closer. He did have a phenomenal interception there in the high corner of the end zone after some pressure from Jalen Carter. We'll get into that big play coming up in a minute when we return on the Verizon postgame show.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Mid-Penn Bank. One of the big questions going into the season was whether or not the Philadelphia Eagles were going to have two rookies for the second consecutive year step up and play a huge role in their defense. Last year, Cooper DeJean, Quenyon Mitchell. This year, can Drew Makuba and Jihad Campbell be those guys? Now, I know today wasn't the best example of what Drew Makuba could do for you in the secondary, but Jihad Campbell, oh my goodness gracious, in on the fumble by Bucky Irving, just getting in there as Jalix Hunt actually wrapped him up at the line of scrimmage. And then on the very next, later in the game, you had an interception by Jihad Campbell in the end zone on another threatening drive there by the Buccaneers. This is a young guy that is playing, I think, as a lot of people like to throw this compliment out there, like a veteran already.
Listen, there's no doubt about it. And, we kind of debated who should have been, the player of the game. Mm-hmm. And we settled on Cooper DeJean. In a lot of respects, it could have been Jihad Campbell had he not, gotten beaten for that touchdown. I'm certain that that's where we would have went. But he's a phenomenal player, and I think, the more time that he has to learn the defense and understand what he does and where he's supposed to be and how he's supposed to, comport himself, I think that, they got an absolute steal. You got him and Zach Bond playing in the middle right now, Nakobe Dean on the men, which is going to ramp up the level of competition and level of production at that position. Listen, Zach Bond is going to play because they're simply paying him too much money for him not to play. Jihad Campbell, he's playing at a level where, D-Gun, you would ask yourself, how do you take this kid off the field? But then again, you got a guy in Nakobe Dean who was the green dot last year that made a lot of plays for you. Yeah, that's extremely smart, that will get everybody lined up where they're supposed to be and get things, at least in the front seven, is the captain of that area. How do you keep him off the field? So it's just going to be interesting to see how all of this continues to play out when you got so many guys at that position where, we have a wealth of riches at the linebacker position for the first time in a long time. Thank goodness, we got Vic Fangio here to change the mind of, Howie Roseman and how we look at linebackers and how important, especially in today's game, that they are.
We've all covered this team a long time, and there's been a lot of good Philadelphia Eagles teams that we've had the pleasure of covering. But as I'm sitting here listening to you talk, I can't remember a Philadelphia team that has had the wealth of young riches like this particular team has from last year to this year, and the additions they made this year. When you look across the board at Howie Roseman's last 4 drafts, look at the wealth of riches they've had in just young talent. Usually it's been a hit or miss. You get 2 or 3 out of it, and that's it. They keep bringing, and he's got like 10 picks next year. Now, granted, Howie Roseman is not going to use all those picks. He's going to wheel and deal somehow, some way to get something that he really wants. But the fact that they have such a good nucleus of young talent on both sides of the football for at least the next 3 to 4 years is mind-boggling when you compare this roster to other rosters in the National Football League. Now, Brett Veach is an outstanding GM for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you have Snyder up in Seattle, who's a great talent evaluator. But outside of those 3, including Howie Roseman, I don't see any other team that has the wealth of riches, the depth of riches that this team has right now. And kudos to this organization, because this was an organization that when they really wanted to get good in years past, they would go out and get a plethora of veteran players from somewhere else. Now they're building from within, and they're winning from within. They won a Super Bowl within and are in contention to win another Super Bowl again this year with a bunch of young kids who are growing along the way. It's always good to make mistakes in a positive environment more so than a negative environment.
Let me ask you this, because one of the things they liked about Jihad Campbell is his versatility. And in training camp, he was at edge,
Sure,
he was at linebacker.
sure.
In the world of Nakobe Dean coming back, would Jahad Campbell potentially, especially the need of an edge rusher right now, would you deploy him more as an edge rusher in that scenario with Dean coming back? Food for thought?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't because, you can get that versatility anytime you want. Now, if the Nolan Smith things continues to be an issue where you may potentially lose him for the year because he tears, that triceps again, now you can begin to talk about it because, I don't know what the timeline is on Nakobe Dean, but if you get Nakobe Dean 100% healthy and ready to go, now you have options, and now you can put him down as an option, at the outside to actually rush. But I think his skill set is too valuable for you to lock him into one place or the other. I mean, you look at his ability to cover man to man. He can cover tight ends where normally you would have to put a safety on him. He's covering backside of the backfield and doing a great job at it. He's, good against the runner. He does everything well. So I feel like at some point in time, Vic's going to have this conundrum that he's going to be stuck with about where you put these two players. You got Nakobe Dean coming back, who leading up until the injury last year was playing phenomenal football. We don't know whether he'll ever get back or whether he can get back, this year to what he was pre-injury. But at least you have options at that position where you could play Jahad Campbell there the rest of the way and sprinkle Nakobe in and create some packages for him to get on the field. If Nolan Smith, if his injuries persist, then you have the option to use him there. Or, you use him to exact some pressure because, listen, I thought Jalen Hunt was, in a position of ready for a breakout. We haven't heard his name through the first 4 weeks of the season. He needs to step up and start getting, some work done and getting some pressure. We got no pressure on Baker Mayfield all day today. The pass rush is a concern. And I don't know whether it's just because of the heat, but Vic Fangio is running D-Gun a lot more blitzes than we're used to seeing him run. And he's running them early, in the deal to try to, offset what offenses are doing and trying to make quarterbacks uncomfortable.
That's 2 straight games now. We've seen him, last week he dialed up 11 blitzes. I don't have the final tally of the number of blitzes he dialed up today, but I think that's an indication that he's not pleased with the front four trying to get home. And, when your front four can't get home, it affects how you want to play schemes in the back end and in the middle of the field. But until they find a way to shore that up, I think we may be seeing this a lot more in terms of him dialing up more blitzes. Because we're obviously going to see opposition dial up more blitzes to try to make Jalen make decisions a lot quicker than he wants to, especially until the passing game proves that it can be as lethal as we've been waiting for it to be. It was lethal in the second half of that game last week, but for 3+ games, we've not seen that kind of lethalness that we saw last weekend. Is that a word, lethalness? Can I use that?
It is now. I understand.
Can you put that in our post-game dictionary? We can make it whatever we want to now.
You'll be in our Say What segment next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Say what? Let me ask this question then, and this is a little bit more outside the box, but you opened actually our post-game show by asking this question just about what can you do in the secondary. Another problem we saw today, unfortunately, especially with the Dory Jackson being out. Not that that's the end-all, be-all, obviously, for people, but you talk about versatility in another rookie. You talk about versatility in Drew Makuba, who also played nickel a little during the training camp. Would you go out? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's out there. Also, Justin Simmons still out there. Justin Simmons could wake up tomorrow and play in Vic Fangio's defense. He's done it enough. Is that an adjustment where you'd sign a safety and move Makuba into the nickel? So Cooper can play on the outside, obviously.
Why is Justin Simmons still out there? That's the first thing I want to know. Why is he still out there?
Maybe
it's a talented player.
Maybe it's his salary ask.
Yeah, but you know what, Seth? Players get desperate because they want to play. Players get desperate at a certain point. You start at a certain point, and all of a sudden your agent is smart enough to say, we got to come off our high horse. We need to get you back on the field. Let's finish out this year and try to get you back in that bigger financial picture next year.
D-Gun, these players have egos as
big
as you could never imagine.
I get it.
And I can imagine Justin having a conversation with Howie and Howie offering him something that's an insult to his ego and him saying, man, go kick rocks. You know how much money I've made so far? I don't need anything. If I'm not going to get what I want, then I don't have any. There's no need for me to come in. Like these guys today, these players. I mean, I was talking to my brother the other day about it. I'm like, Micah Parsons is making $47 million per year on average.
Yes.
If you guys would laugh if you knew how much more money he's making in 1 year than I made in my entire career. You know? So when you're making that kind of money, you know, ego becomes a big deal with a lot of people. They're not that grounded, you know? So it's like, bro, I got $100 million in the bank, okay? So if you ain't coming at me with 15 to 20, I don't need to come in. I can sit at home and watch y'all stumble through, you know, bad secondary play, and when you're ready to pay me what I want, give me a holler.
I can see with the Justin Simmons, I can see them waiting, his group waiting until it gets close to like trade deadline or something like that, and then coming in, and a team that's going to be desperate because they're contending for the playoffs, but they're short players because of injuries along the way, are going to end up paying him a little bit more. This is going to be a meeting of the mind. He's not going to get everything he wants, and the team is going to have to pay a little bit more than they want to bring a player of his caliber in. But I see him coming in before the halfway mark of the season is over.
See, Degon is trying to avoid the controversial question.
Which
don't nobody care about no Justin Simmons. He asked you, do we bring C.J. Gardner-Johnson back into the fold?
I don't want to answer that question. I can give you a definitive. I tell you what, I'll give you a definitive answer when we get off the air, but I'm not giving you a definitive answer now because I might get a phone call that I don't want to get.
Is it no or hell no?
I believe hell no. I'll go ahead and I'll take my best swing.
In your mortal words of Scooby-Doo,
See, I think that and this is why, you know, you don't get into these blow-ups, you know, with organizations, because every goodbye ain't gone. Every goodbye ain't gone. You know, there's a certain amount of money that was guaranteed in that contract that he signed with the Texans. Okay, he's gonna get that money no matter what. And he could have came back to the Eagles and double dipped for a little bit less if he would have just shut his mouth. But this is the thing that's plagued him. This is the reason why he's not here. You know, it's the constant chatter. It's the constant, you know, issues and things on the field. And, you know, we've all defended him. I think he's a phenomenal player that just needs to bring it down a level. But obviously he needs all of those things in order to keep him hyped, so that he can play at a certain level. But that kind of stuff, you know, when you need those outside influences to help you be the best that you can be, that becomes a problem, you know, and where there's smoke, there's fire. Listen, where was he at before he came here the first time?
He was down in
the Saints. The Saints,
yeah.
Okay? The Saints ran him out of there. Then he came to the Eagles. Then the Eagles ran him up out of here. Then he went to the Lions.
Yep.
Then the Lions ran him up out, and we brought him back again. And then we ran him up out of here again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I know there's a lot of people that defend him. I defend him because I love him as a player.
Yeah.
But at some point in time, you got to learn. You know, you just can't keep bumping your head against the wall and thinking that the wall's going to move. That you have to make the adjustment. Because at some point in time, he's going to find himself outside the NFL, bitter, mad, you know, and with a major attitude that's going to get him in some other type of issue and problem in life.
See, I've read where shortly after he was let go in Houston, it came out that he had difficulty grasping DeMeco Ryans' scheme. But there's another part of it, too, that says if you can't play for DeMeco Ryans, there was a lot of headbutting going on down there. If you can't play for DeMeco Ryans, you can't play for nobody because, you know, I got to know DeMeco when he was here. And DeMeco is probably as intense as the position is to be a head coach in the National Football League or a coordinator or a coach, period, in the National Football League. DeMeco Ryans has as much patience as anybody you ever want to come across. If you can't play for DeMeco Ryans, you have a problem. There's a problem.
I'll say this. The Houston Texans were 0-3 with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Now they're 1-0 without Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and they pitched a shutout today.
Who did they play against?
They played the Titans.
Come on, man.
It's shutout's a shutout.
Come on. Who they play next week?
They play the Ravens.
Okay, talk to me next week.
Okay, fair enough. All right, That does it for the show. We got the Denver Broncos up next. Another 1 o'clock kickoff. That game is going to be on CBS. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing to all things on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. That is going to be a great one for sure. Eagles, bottom line, 4-0. We'll see how they go through the rest of the week. We'll be back with you guys next week for another edition of the Verizon pregame show and as well, of course, as the postgame show. For Bailey Livesey, for Derek Gunn, for Seth Joyner, I'm Mark Farzetta. We appreciate you guys joining us here. Also, shout out to White Dog Cafe for another phenomenal lunch, by the way, brunch as well, and the Tinderbox as well, where we watch the game. Fine cigar store here in Haverford. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for listening as well. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.